Ladies and gentlemen,
a few people will break in there, George, because here's Michael Buffer.
Now coming to the ring, the challenger from California, USA, Chris, the Hitman Avalos.
And so the expected chorus of boos greets Chris Avalos as he kisses his gloves and punches the air, and there's a semblance of a smile on his face as he gets up on his toes and he's throwing imaginary punches as he makes his way confidently, fairly leisurely in his stride towards the ring. This is only his second fight outside the United States. Born and raised in one of the toughest cities in California, Lancaster, some 70 miles or so north of Los Angeles, and he says he brings the ghetto attitude into his work in the ring, and he climbs the 4 steps directly opposite us over on the far side by the neutral corner, clambers through the center of the 2 center ropes of the 4 that make up this ring here. He jumps up onto the second rope here in the red corner just above us here, punches the air, and that prompts another round of boos from the crowd here.
He looks very pumped here, Mike. He's jumped in the ring, he's jumped up on either corner, he's jumped up on Frampton's corner before he's got in. Maybe this is a tactic, maybe it is to just rile the crowd up, to get them even more animated. Maybe it's just him finding his feet, absorbing as much of the crowd as he can before the first bell. At the same time now he's pretty calm, he's getting his shoelaces redone, I think, and yeah, he looks in good shape.
And now comes another test of nerve for Chris Avalos, as Carl Frampton will soon be making his way to the ring. Avalos is just having his boots tended to, making sure that the laces are tight. If this is going to be a night when he's moving around the ring and chasing Carl Frampton, because we expect Frampton to spend a lot of time on the back foot as the crescendo grows here now, as they await the moment.
Making his way to the ring, please welcome the undefeated IBF Super Bantamweight Champion of the world, Carl the Jackal Frampton.
Well, I wonder, are some people here asking themselves, is this Barry McGuigan in disguise? Noise is not heard like this in these parts for 30 years. We heard similar just down the dockside at the temporary specially built arena in September when Carl Frampton won the world title, and now he appears beneath a blaze of spotlight at the far end of the arena, furthest away from our position here at ringside. Everybody holding aloft a camera to capture the moment that they saw Carl Frampton in action, the latest Belfast boxing hero. There's a very serious, studious look on his face now as he makes his way on a solitary walk now with security personnel left and right, and his trainer Shane McGuigan, son of Barry, just behind him. He's boxed 5 times in this cauldron called the Odyssey Arena before. 5 times the contest have ended inside the distance, but this is a step up in class compared to any of those 5 opponents. And now he's up onto the ring apron. He turns 180 degrees, clambers between those 2 ropes once again, flicks back the hood, holds aloft the right glove, and now circles the ring, taking the acclaim from every corner of this arena now. Carl Frampton set for the first defense of his hard-won world title.
He looks good, he looks focused, straight in the ring, not trying to antagonize Avalos. I think that's a good sign. That's a sign that he's in his own zone, thinking about himself. Quick walk around the ring, arm in the air. Maybe even a superstitious thing that. He's in the corner, he looks focused, he looks ready to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Odyssey Arena here in Belfast, Northern Ireland. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. 12 rounds of boxing for the IBF Super Bantamweight Championship of the World. And it's all brought to you by International Boxing Hall of Fame World Champion fighter Mr. Barry McGuigan and CWM Cyclone, with sponsorship by CWM FX in association with Top Rank Incorporated. Sanctioned by the British Boxing Board of Control, steward in charge Mr. John Williamson. Board representative Mr. Robert Smith. Representing the International Boxing Federation as supervisor tonight, Mr. Lindsey Tucker. At ringside, the three judges. Should this contest go the distance, scoring will be from Lancashire, United Kingdom, Phil Edwards. From New Jersey, USA, Joseph Pasqua. From Quebec, Canada, Monsieur Benoit Roussel. And the referee in charge of the action at the bell, from Doncaster, England, Mr. Howard Foster. And now, the officials are at ringside and they are ready. The fighters are in the ring and they are ready. Boxing fans, are you ready? Belfast, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, from Belfast, Northern Ireland, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, with his head trainer Felipe Avalos, wearing white with gold. He weighed in officially at 8 stone, 10 pounds, aka 122 pounds. His professional record, an outstanding one. 25 victories, including 19 knockouts, only 2 defeats. From Lancaster, California, USA, the IBF #1 ranked super bantamweight challenger in the world, Chris the Hitman Avalos. And across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, with his head trainer Shane McGuigan, wearing blue with gold, officially weighing in at 8 stone, 9 pounds, 9 ounces, aka 121.8 pounds. A perfect professional record consisting of 19 fights, 19 victories, including 13 knockouts. He is the undefeated, reigning, defending IBF Super Bantamweight Champion of the world, the fighting pride of Belfast, Northern Ireland, Pearl, the Jackal, Frampton.
And the final instructions now from referee Howard Foster.
Okay, fellas, spoke to you both in the dressing room. You both know what I expect. Keep it clean, break straight away when told, and both of you watch your heads in close. Good luck to you both. Touch glove. Touch.
Just me and you.
Touch them up.
Just me and you now.
Just me and you, says Chris Avalos. Well, they say it's harder to stay a world champion than become one. And Carl Frampton has spoken of his determination to be a long reigning champion. Chris Avalos is the first to deliver a challenge to his status, the latest to feel the heat of this blazing Belfast boxing furnace. You can barely hear it, but believe me, the first bell has rung to a crescendo of noise that threatens to reduce all our ears to shrapnel. It's another heady Belfast boxing night, and the hero in the centre of the ring is Carl Frampton, making the first defence of his title, wearing blue gloves and predominantly blue shorts. Avalos sets off on the front foot, as has been his style throughout his career. Frampton goes forward, tries a couple of left hooks. They're taken on the right glove by Chris Avalos. The two men sparring off virtually in the centre of the ring. fairly quiet opening half a minute or so. Frampton wings in with a left hook once again. Avalos sees it coming, steps back out of range. Frampton goes to the body with a right hand. It just about grazed the abdomen of Avalos, who throws a better looking right hand to the body himself. Tries to cut down the ring. Frampton sees him coming, tries to land a counter punch of a short, sharp right hand. The referee told them to separate, and Avalos threw a right hand on the break, and he's talking to Frampton here. He's really reveling in the hostility, trying to make it work for him. Frampton on the back foot, trying to set himself for an overhand right. The right hand that caused so much damage in each of his wins against the former world champion, Kiko Martinez. Avalos is on the front foot again. Flicks out a jab, then a left hook, right hand to the body. All three miss as Frampton backs off towards his own corner, far side of the ring, into the second half of the opening round. Now Frampton goes on the front foot, tries a right hand, and it misses by just a couple of inches or so. But he's trying to set himself here. You can see the way he's got the elbow cocked. He thinks that the right hand could be a key shot here against Avalos, but he's got to be careful here. There's just a sign that Frampton is getting wild. Right hand over the top does land onto the left-hand side of the face of Chris Avalos, and Avalos just has to smart for a minute, almost blinks as he takes that shot, but comes straight back into the fray. Frampton is pawing with the jab, as if to use that as a rangefinder for another right hand. 45 seconds to go in the opening round as the crowd get into full voice once again. Avalos goes charging forward. Frampton moves away neatly and lands a big right hand onto the side of the head of Avalos once again. But the American takes it and holds on inside, clubs away with his right hand. The referee once again tells him to separate, and he's called a timeout here because twice in the opening round Avalos has hit on the break. And Howard Foster is saying, you've got to listen to me. Avalos might use the excuse justifiably that in this cauldron he cannot hear the referee's instructions, or maybe he's just playing on that. Last 20 seconds of the opening round. Frampton backs off again, tries a right hand and a left hook combination. Again, he hasn't quite found his rhythm and his accuracy in this round, but it's clear as to what he wants to do. He thinks the right hand is the key at this stage. He backs off now, does Avalos. The man who's known for charging forward has been forced onto the back foot time and again in this opening round. Another right hand from Frampton. Pinpoint, he grits his teeth, gets set to throw another one as the bell sounds at the end of the first round. George Groves.
Very good first round from both fighters. I think Avalos started the round well, got his jab working really well. Throwing the right hand to the body, sometimes falling a bit short, sometimes the right foot was following through with it. Frampton near the end of the round started finding a home for his right hand. Looked like he had the more telling shot. Both fighters looked like the instructions from the corner was to go out, land something big, something substantial, impose yourself on the fight within the first 3 minutes. Good first round from both. I'll give that one to Frampton though.
Just signs that maybe Frampton carries more firepower.
Yeah, I mean, physically looking at him, he's shorter, he's squatter, it's much easier to punch up than punch down. Avalos at the moment is using his height and his range well, but at the same time, Frampton's landing the bigger shots.
The second round then, and we gave the first round on our card to Carl Frampton, but a very eventful, competitive first round. Avalos wings in with two looping left hooks at the start of this round. A much crisper, shorter one gets through, though, from Frampton. Now he goes forward with a right hand, followed with a jab. They're smothered, almost muffled by Avalos. Referee Howard Foster, you can hear him barking at them to work away. And now he says break, and they step back. Frampton holds his ground in the centre of the ring, beaten twice to the jab by Avalos, who's heartened by that and gets after his man now and drives Frampton back to a neutral corner, just to our left here, just up above us here. We could almost reach out and undo their bootlaces here. We're that close. They move back to the centre of the ring. Frampton misses with a left hook and with a right hand over the top. There's just a bit of rashness about the work of Frampton here. He clearly has been inspired by the crowd here into producing something special, but he's just got to time those punches and wait for Avalos to come at him, because Avalos at times is using his greater reach. A right hand over the top from Frampton. You hear it bouncing off the head of Avalos. That was a good shot, much crisper, more accurate shot from Frampton as we move into the second minute of the second round. Good work again from Frampton. Avalos tries to hold on inside, and then after that works his way free and punches away to the body. The two of them here mauling inside. Good work to the body from Avalos. Frampton steps off now, tries to find room for the right hand over the top once again. Avalos just for a moment switches to the southpaw stance and then straight back to orthodox, goes in with a jab. He's beaten by a faster, crisper one by Carl Frampton. The two men come together in the centre of the ring once again. Very lively second round. Frampton slips inside the jab of Avalos and lands a nice, crisp left uppercut. Good work from Frampton. Backs off onto the ropes. Avalos goes charging after his man, and Frampton just smothers his work and holds onto him inside. And now Chris Avalos has a problem here as Frampton goes after him here. Avalos was looking for a timeout. He's got an injury after that latest clash over on the far side when the two men were involved in a close quarter clinch. Avalos turned to the referee. He wanted a timeout. Howard Foster was having none of it, and Frampton got straight back after him, and Avalos is talking to Frampton again. Right hand, then a straight left from Frampton. Strong punches. Frampton looking confident, almost nonchalant on the back foot. He backs away to the ropes on the left-hand side of the ring as we look on. 20 seconds to go now as the crowd chant easy, easy. There's a smile, almost a smirk on the face of Avalos as he tries to throw a jab towards the body. He's moving from the waist, he's swaying, trying to keep Frampton guessing. Frampton moves away to the red corner, Avalos' corner, just by us here as his cornermen get ready to place the stool. Last few seconds. Avalos throws a jab, takes a good crunching right hand from Frampton once again towards the end of the round. And Avalos makes his way back to the corner. It looked as though he'd hurt an arm, maybe even a foot, but he was complaining about something during the round. Referee Howard Foster was having nothing of it, and from that moment, Frampton took charge in that round. Your thoughts, George Groves?
Frampton well within his right. Avalos decided to walk away. Rule is protect yourself at all times. Frampton jumped on him, landed big shots. Howard Foster looked a bit confused as to what to do at this point. Fortunately, Avalos decided to box and get it back in the action. He does look like he has a slight injury to his right arm. He wasn't throwing it as freely from the end of the round. Frampton, though, to his credit, took advantage, started landing the bigger, heavier shots, was landing big left hooks in that round, and nearly had landed a few solid right hands as well.
So Carl Frampton, first to rise from his stool ahead of the third round on our cards. He's won the first two rounds. Second out. And the bell sounds then for the start of the third round. And very late off his stool was Chris Avalos, almost drowned in the water from the sponge by his corner, trying to lift their man. He was hit hard and often in that second round, even though he was complaining about a possible injury, might have been to his right shoulder. Another strong right hand from Frampton does land. The two defeats that Avalos suffered came against counter-punchers who waited for him to charge forward and pick their punches. Frampton is trying to do exactly the same. He throws a right hand, Frampton, but this time he mistimed it and it landed over the top of the head of Avalos, who again tries to work away inside. Wonderful left hook to the body from Carl Frampton. You could hear the thud as it worked away inside, and he throws another couple of punches inside. You do get the distinct impression that he has the greater strength in these close quarter clinches. He pushes Avalos off and then throws a rasping right uppercut towards the body, then another one to the chin. Tries to throw a left hook to the head, Frampton. Busy work from Frampton here in close. He's looking strong at long range, and he's looking just as adept at close range as well. Gets through with an uppercut. Avalos here seems to be really keen to keep it up close and to keep it tight here, because he's being beaten and being hurt at long range. Frampton steps away from the clinch and lands a brilliant left-right combination, then a left hook to the body. He backs off, waits again for Avalos. Avalos, a looping left hook, lands only around the back of the shoulder of Frampton. There's just a reddening by the right eye of Frampton, might have come from a clash of heads. Can't quite determine at this stage and from this distance as to whether that is actually a cut or just a graze. Now Frampton opens up in the centre of the ring. Three punches finishing with an overhand right. Again, it cannons off the left-hand side of the face of Avalos, then followed by an uppercut as Avalos relaxes inside, but you can't relax in the company of a fighter of the calibre of Carl Frampton, who opens up inside. A brilliant combination. Avalos is forced to back off. Left hook from Frampton as he steps away. Another left hook. Landing these shots at will now is Frampton. Right hook to the body. Terrific work from Frampton. Varying the attack. They're single shots, but they're landing with pulverising power here. Shots to the head, shots to the body, and Avalos hasn't a clue where they're coming from. Another left hook from Frampton. Avalos gets desperate with a right hand, lands with a jab. Frampton gets through again with a better right hand and draws another roar of acclaim from the crowd here. Last 20 seconds in the third round. Warning this time from the referee to Carl Frampton for holding. Now Avalos tries to open up, lands with a couple of shots. Just a sign that Frampton can't get too complacent, can't get overconfident here. There's still some fight in the heart of Chris Avalos, even if he's been beaten for skill and for sharpness and for accuracy here. Indeed, being beaten in most departments. The bell sounds at the end of a very dominant round here for Carl Frampton. And before we hear from George Groves, let's follow Frampton back to the corner and listen in to Barry's son, Shane McGuigan, his trainer.
He's wrecked, okay? He's tired of now. Suck it up. All right? He's busting his balls, okay? You've got to meet him with that right hand first, and then the second...
Well, we're struggling to hear clearly what Shane McGuigan was saying, but I got just part of that. He was saying that Avalos is blowing.
Yeah. There was definitely an edge taken off his punches in that round, Mike. He wasn't finding the jab as consistently he was in the first two rounds. Also, when they're now engaging, when they're getting close, they're not tying each other up, they're working, which is fantastic for us to watch. But Avalos is punching wide. What Frampton is very good at doing is punching inside his shoulders. He's punching inside the shot. He's coming inside. He's finding the body. Avalos is finding the arms because he's had to go wide.
Finding the arms and finding the Belfast night air as the bell sounds for round number 4. And there is a mark, a distinctive red mark by the right cheekbone close to the eye of Carl Frampton, but at this stage it's nothing to concern him or his corner or Barry McGuigan over on the far side of the ring. Right hand over the top from Avalos gets through. And that was just a moment of concern there for Frampton, but he takes it well. It's a hallmark of the best champions that not only do they have an abundance of skill and heart, but they have strong chins as well. And Frampton took a heavy shot there, perhaps the best success of the contest so far for Chris Avalos inside the first half a minute of round number 4. The crowd once again getting behind their man, lifting him here to what he hopes will be another dominant performance. Frampton finishes off a left hook with another right hand, and then as Avalos comes forward, he crunches another right hand onto the jaw of the Californian. Strong shots from Frampton, no question that the hardest punches are being landed by the man from Tigers Bay, just a couple of miles or so from here. Left right from Frampton, this time the timing and the accuracy not quite there, and the referee opens his own arms as Avalos looks at him as if to say, work away inside, it's up to you two to sort yourself out. Frampton sorts himself out, takes a step back, throws a sharp jab. You can see the head of Avalos rocked back, and that drew applause from the crowd here. Another gut-wrenching left hook to the body from Carl Frampton here, but Avalos, terrifically brave, comes straight back at him. He takes a huge lungful of breath because those body shots are really debilitating, and it's noticeable that Avalos just messes around with the waistband of his shorts here. That's a sign that he's feeling something in the abdomen area. Very strong body shots from Carl Frampton, but it has to be said that Avalos at this stage is very much competitive in the centre of the ring, still throwing away inside. They're the lighter punches as Frampton at the end of the exchange throws a stiff jab. Now tries a right hand over the top, but Avalos got through once again, and we just saw the head of Frampton jarred there in that latest exchange. We're into the final minute of round 4, and another whoa from the crowd as a right hand from Frampton yet again gets through. Referee Howard Foster separates them here. Frampton steps off, holds his ground in the centre of the ring, and lands another overhand right high onto the head of Chris Avalos. It's been such a successful, effective shot for Carl Frampton throughout the contest here. He's rolling the arms. He's feeling ultra confident here is Frampton. Steps in, left-right combination, and you just got the sense that the legs of Avalos stiffen just for a moment. He brushes away some blood from his nose. Does Avalos once again comes back at Frampton, still so game and so brave is Avalos. He's taking heavy punches to the body, heavy punches to the head, but each time he comes straight back at Frampton. but there was almost a resigned air in the face there as a huge left hook from Carl Frampton lands at the end of the round. It was already on the way by the time the bell sounded. Good end to the round, and a good round overall for Carl Frampton.
Yeah, Carl Frampton now has the measure of his man. He's landing shots at will at times. He was dipping inside to his left, throwing a screw shot with his left hand, or even coming over the top with a left hook. On the other side, he was bending down to his right-hand side, right hands over the top. They were having a significant effect in that round. Avalos' legs looked to dip in the middle of that round. Again, he's not finding the range of his jab. That's what's key for him, is to come in low behind his double jab and then find a home for his right hand, whether it be a hook to behind the elbow or a straight right to the chin. But right now, he's crossing his feet, he's ending up tied up, and when he's inside, Frampton's still outworking him.
So 4 rounds completed on your card, all 4 to Carl Frampton. So the bell sounds then for round number 5. A very gutsy performance so far from Chris Avalos, but the cleaner punching, the more clinical work has been produced by Carl Frampton, who searches for the body with a raking left jab and a second one at the start of this, the 5th round. Overhand right from Avalos gets through just as Carl Frampton got set to throw a left hook. The straight right hand from Avalos got there first. Avalos now, a lazy-looking left jab. He's beaten to it by the better one from Frampton. Then a left-right combination from Frampton, and Avalos backs off onto the ropes. Avalos, for the first time in the fight, he's genuinely hurt. He swings with the right hand, but Frampton gets through with another one on the ropes, far side of the ring. Avalos here is virtually helpless as the referee gets set to look on and step in. Frampton with an overhand right, another flurry of punches. Avalos is on the ropes, he holds on desperately, and he's wrestled to the floor. The referee rules no knockdown, but with 2 minutes to go in this round, it's going to be a long way home for Chris Avalos. Frampton goes on the charge once again. Can he finish this in the 5th round? A brilliant left hook from Frampton gets through. It's a single shot. A weaker right hand from Avalos as he comes forward into the centre of the ring. Left hook, right hand from Frampton. Another right hand, a left hook. Avalos backs up once again. He's desperately hurt. The end must be close. Right hand from Frampton. He stands his ground again. A high right hand, high part of the head. Brilliant punch from Frampton, and the referee steps in. It is all over at around the halfway stage of round number 5. Celebrations in the corner of Carl Frampton. A brilliant performance on his first defence of the title, and Carl Frampton says that he wants to be a long reigning world champion, and he's got off to the most impressive of starts. He is still the super bantamweight champion of the world, and into the ring comes the Vizsla kid, Barry McGuigan, with the biggest and most raucous celebration of the evening as Frampton is lifted aloft by his trainer, Shane McGuigan. A superb performance by Carl Frampton, one of class and of accuracy, and the crowd are singing easy, easy. It was anything but right there in that 5th round, it was a polished display by Carl Frampton to hold on to that much cherished title. A superb display all round. George Groves.
It certainly was, Mike. In that round, he showed killer instinct. He had his man hurt and he didn't give him a chance to let up. However, with all the knowledge, the experience he's had in all these wins, he just couldn't find an answer for that right hand and that left hook that was coming from Frampton. In the end, he was catching him with, at will. He couldn't tie him up. He couldn't get his thoughts back. In the end, Howard Foster had to make the right decision, stop the fight.
Well, in the corner of Chris Avalos, the paramedics are just fixing the oxygen mask to his face. I think it's just a precautionary measure. He is talking to one of the doctors at ringside, but he was badly hurt. In the end, he didn't go down. He was wrestled to the canvas by Carl Frampton at one stage, but it wasn't ruled a knockdown by the referee. He got up. He was so game on his feet. He was taking right hand after right hand, with the occasional left hook thrown in amongst the flurries as well. And in the end, the referee, Howard Foster, intervened as he really had to, because There was plenty of spirit left for Chris Avalos, but there was no fight left in the legs or the arms. And as he reeled away, the crowd here are watching replays like the rest of us. He reeled away on unsteady legs, and he'll be saved to fight another day. But you have to believe that he doesn't belong at the highest level, certainly not at Carl Frampton's level. Frampton, though, moves onwards and upwards. He said, George Groves, he wants to be a long reigning world champion, and if you consider that Avalos was the best of those who doesn't hold a title, then this looks like a good form line.
Oh, it certainly does. And I said it earlier, he's improving with every fight, I feel. There's plenty more we're going to see from Carl Frampton. So tonight, a good performance against a very good opponent. It was a step up. It was probably one of the toughest guys he's been in with, but he dealt with him convincingly. A 5th round stoppage. You can't really ask for much more than that. He showed he's got punch power in both hands. Avalos, to his credit, one hell of a tough guy. Didn't go down, but everything else but. Certainly needed saving there at the end from himself. Carl Frampton certainly has the potential to go on and be a very, very successful and long-reigning world champion.
The thoughts of George Groves, soon to be challenging again for a version of the world super middleweight title. Already in the ownership of the most cherished prize is Carl Frampton, having successfully made the first defence of that crown by being simply too good, too strong, too heavy-hitting for Chris Avalos. Superb performance. And now Barry McGuigan bows to the crowd, takes the acclaim. 30 years ago it was that he had his crowning glory, and they haven't forgotten. They know in these parts a great fighter when they see one, and they're looking at one in the shape of Barry McGuigan. And Carl Frampton is on his journey. He wants to make an indelible mark in this sport, and performances like the one he's produced here this evening will go a long way to help him.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we give the official time, a round of applause for this 25-year-old challenger from California, USA, who had the courage to come here to Belfast tonight and face this champion. Referee Howard Foster steps in at 1 minute 33 seconds to call a halt to the fight. The official time, 1 minute 33, round number 5. The winner by TKO, now 20-0, the undefeated IBF Super Bantamweight Champion of the World, the Fighting Pride of Belfast, Northern Ireland, Carl the Jackal
Well, they've been partying all night here in Belfast anyway, but now they have reason to continue long into the night and into the small hours of the morning, because the small man up in the ring in front of us, Carl Frampton, has produced a quite superb display of power punching here to turn back the challenge of the brave but ultimately outgunned Chris Avalos of the United States. Another great, heady Belfast boxing night. And we heard there, George Groves, the official announcement from Michael Buffer. And you forget that Carl Frampton now is unbeaten in 20 fights. He's had only 20 fights, relatively speaking. That's so few fights for somebody to be campaigning and thriving at this level.
It certainly is, Mike. You know, I think it's a testament to the way he's approached his career, the fact that he hasn't looked to waste time at his age and his relatively low amount of professional bouts. He's now successfully defending a version of the world title. Sooner or later, he's the sort of guy who's going to run out of opponents, I think, because performances like that, people are not going to want to fight him. We've got Scott Quigg here at ringside. Obviously, that's a fight we'd love to see. You know, two big names in the UK and in Ireland, and if those two boxers would sell out anywhere in those two regions, and it certainly make for a fantastic fight. I think sooner or later, that's the fight people are going to be calling for. And
we were talking earlier, George, about the upsurge in interest in boxing, and that's the kind of fight, a domestic clash, that really takes boxing back into the mainstream, where it's been occasionally in the past couple of decades, but where it was permanently for a long time.
Yeah, and that will be that would tick every box, mate. It will be for the purists, for the fight fans, for the casual sports fans, and for the general public, because it will be a fantastic fight. You know, you're not trying to build a fight on two personalities, you're building a fight on two tremendous fighters who have been out, proven world champions, and performing at the highest level. It's a fight where if those two did enter, the styles would certainly gel. It would make her a terrific night of boxing, fantastic action. And I think, as I say, with Frampton dispatching the #1 contender, the highest ranked opponent who isn't a world champion, so effortlessly in the end, it's now going to be champion versus champion.
And if it's going to be Scott Quigg, an all-domestic clash, if Scott Quigg comes here, then the heat and the passion are something he's going to have to overcome before the bell rings.
Yeah, I mean, it will be tough. It will be tough for absolutely anyone. I've boxed in some electric atmospheres over the years, and whether that be 1,100 people at York Hall or 80,000 at Wembley Stadium, but this took some topping. You know, the roof really did nearly come off when Carl Frampton ring walked tonight, and it did just the same when he finally got the win in the end. No one would want to come here and box in Belfast against Carl Frampton after tonight.
Well, we're waiting to talk to Carl Frampton and maybe one or two other members of Camp Frampton. It's very much a family affair between his family and the McGuigan family. Shane, Barry's son, is a very important part of the camp as the chief trainer of Carl Frampton. Jake McGuigan is the promoter, and Blaine McGuigan also has a very important hand in the operations of these big shows, which are at times a logistical nightmare. I hope to get a word also with Carl Frampton himself. And Scott Quigg has also made his way up into the ring, hence one or two boos from those who've recognised what's going on up above there. But that would be one of the great domestic showdowns that potentially could be made out there at the moment. We have this wonderful super middleweight scene with George alongside me and James DeGale, and Carl Froch hasn't yet confirmed his retirement or any future plans. There's Kell Brook perhaps against Amir Khan at welterweight. In the heavyweight division, Anthony Joshua is making great strides after his Olympic gold medal success. Tyson Fury is on the cusp of a challenge to either Vladimir Klitschko or Deontay Wilder. So much happening in the British boxing scene at the moment, and George Groves, for you, it must be fantastic to be right at the forefront of that.
Well, yeah, it is, you know, and boxing is still going through that transitional period where it's never really been a niche sport, but it's now starting to draw the massive audiences. The general sports fans are fascinated and engaged in the boxing scene, and the big domestic fights are the ones that's propelled us now. The guys that have risen to the top are having the big fights all around the world, and boxing's certainly on the up. Tonight with the launch of ITV Boxing, you know, now ITV back to backing boxing is fantastic. It's another outlet for our sport that you know, us fighters love. It doesn't matter if you're a Sky Sports fighter, if you're a ITV fighter, you know, the more we got, the better we are.
And with us now is Shane McGuigan, Barry's son and chief trainer in the Frampton camp. Shane, first of all, your assessment of that performance tonight.
One of his best performances so far. You know, Avalos wasn't anywhere near as game as Kiko Martinez, and he kind of was stuck in the middle distance, and Carl just picked him apart tonight, boxed him for the first few rounds, and then just took him out as the rounds went on, and he couldn't live with him tonight.
Did you sense from very early on that this would finish inside the distance?
Yeah, I knew after the first round. He looked slow. He looked like he'd almost been overtrained, but I think, you know, he really struggled to make the weight, and you know, the guy just isn't anywhere near as good as Carl Frampton. Carl does it right. He does the weight right over a long period of time. He's a super strong guy at super bantamweight, and he's a serious force to be reckoned with.
And I know you have to be like Carl, inside this kind of tunnel of concentration, but what a night again here tonight, Shane. They're amazing, these nights.
Yeah, I know, that's what I said to Carl. You know, he can't let himself get wrapped up in the crowd, but you know, he's been here and done it, and this is his home. You know what I mean? These people are here to support him. There's 9,000 people to support him. There's only 10, and that's his family, to support Chris Avalos, and it was a massive factor tonight, and you know, it came through with flying colours.
where would you like to see him go next?
I want him to fight Scott Quigg, not for his title. I want him to fight for for the money fight. I think it's a good payday. I think, you know, it's a big fight for the British fans. The people in boxing that understand boxing, they know Carl Frampton's a better fighter. But to the outsiders, they think it's a 50-50 fight. It's not. Carl's going to knock him out, and I'd like to see that fight next. And then I want to see him unify the division.
Great stuff, Shane. Congratulations. Good work again. And see you in the build-up to the next one.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Shane. Well, alongside Shane is Scott Quigg. Also, Carl Frampton is there as well. We'll get a word with Carl Frampton very shortly. Scott Quigg making his way down from ringside. Will he be the next man to rise from the opposite stall as we await the appearance of Carl Frampton on the ring apron here? And before we speak to Carl Frampton, we'll have a quick word here with Barry McGuigan. And Barry, I think that's the celebration to beat all celebrations tonight.
Yeah, well, absolutely. People said, you know, are you going to enjoy yourself? And I said, well, not until this fella wins. And it was the way he won. He was so emphatic. He was so dominant. You know, this guy's #1 in the world by the WBO, the IBF, and he's number inside the top 5 in all the other governing bodies. You know, he just played with him and he took him out. And he's very brave, Chris Avalos, but Frampton's in a different league. I think he's an exceptional kid, and I think he is the best super bantamweight in the world. That includes Guillermo Rigondeaux, that includes Scott Quigg and Leo Santa Cruz. So we want to get a chance to prove that we can beat all these guys. And honestly, we were willing to do business with everybody.
You sat at the centre of the dais at the press conference on Thursday, Barry, and said very similar there. Yeah. And we wondered, whether, look, is this part of the promotional hype? It's all part of boxing. But actually tonight, it was not as comfortable, it's the wrong word to use in a boxing ring, but it was as straightforward as you said it would be. Yeah,
I mean, look, you know, George is sitting beside you and Richie beside him. You know, there are lots of very smart people and who know their boxing inside out. It's always difficult to get it 100% right, but I know what I see in the gym every day, Mike, and this kid is unbelievable. I mean, he's unbelievable at super bantamweight. He's, you know, he's huge, he's strong, he can go up to featherweight and super featherweight, and I really think he can be one of the best Irish fighters that there's ever been.
And the atmosphere again in here tonight, Barry. Well, it's hard to believe that 9,000 and 10,000 people can make this
that sort of noise. It's incredible.
It's as if you've piped something in.
It's, you know, people just don't understand it. I tell you, and I said that as well on you know, at the press conference the other day. This is the most atmospheric arena in the world. There's nothing like it, and people think they understand what it's like. You've got to be here to actually really sample it and understand it. It's incredible.
And we, all of us here, Barry, took our headphones off as Carl was walking to the ring. And when you hear that phrase, ear-splitting, that's what it is. Yeah. I mean, it actually hurts the ears. Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's really great. What do you think of it, George?
It was fantastic, Barry. I was going to ask you on a personal level, being here tonight, how much of it can you actually enjoy beforehand? How much of it is a reminisce? Is it going back? Well, here,
and you will appreciate this. I always look at things as Carl's going to join me here. I always look at things as a fighter. So for the fighter, I get very nervous. Carl, come in and talk to the boys here. In fact, if you just put on this headset.
Just waiting for Carl to put on the headphones. Congratulations, Carl. Fantastic
performance.
Thanks very much,
lads. Thank
Give
you.
us, first of all, your assessment.
I thought it was a good fight. Good performance. Sorry, from the first round, he was very slow. He was plodding a lot. I knew what he was trying to do. He was trying to hit me with a big right hand. He was trying to stay low and hit me with a right hand over the top, but I kept my composure. I felt like I could see everything coming there. I was hitting him with right hands, and I felt comfortable.
And you always look to be carrying the greater firepower.
Yeah, I can punch. You know, I believe I'm the biggest punching super bantamweight in the world. I honestly believe that. And if I hit people, it's fair play to that guy. He stood up there. He wasn't on his backside. He was still standing up. But you know, I hit anyone like that, and it's game over. And
he was talking to you once or twice. Did he clip you at all? Anything to concern you?
I'll tell you what he said. He says to me, "You punch like a pussy." So that's what he told me. And then he's getting carried out of the ring nearly. So.
Shane was saying that he thinks it's one of your best performances. Where do you rank it?
Yeah, I think it is my best performance. He's a good fighter. He's a hungry fighter. He's very aggressive, very game, well up for it. But I feel like I'm in my prime now, and I'm still getting better and better. The quality of sparring partners that we got in this time are a testament to that. I've done over 200 rounds of sparring with Mexicans, the French lightweight champion, numerous quality sparring partners, and I think that's the reason for that performance.
And we heard you, or saw you, talking there to Scott Quigg at ringside just a moment or so ago. what were his feelings, and what are the prospects of you two getting it on?
He said it was a good fight, and I you know, it was a good fight. I believe that fight has to happen next, but as long as Scott realises I'm the world champion here, I'm the legitimate world champion, if he, you know, lets Eddie Hearn make the decisions, this fight may not happen, because he likes to get in the middle of things and spoil things. But as long as they understand who the champion is and who the draw is, that fight can be easily made.
And who the draw is, I mean, this was the 6th time you've boxed here in the Odyssey Arena. It just seems to get louder and louder and louder, to a point where you think it can't get any louder, and it does.
It's unbelievable, honestly. I think because some of the stuff that he was saying in the press conferences and weigh-ins, the people didn't like him. They wanted to see him knocked out, and I didn't let them down.
Excellent performance, Carl. For your box, terrific. Politics aside, we know it's difficult in boxing. Who would be your ideal fight next then?
I honestly think Quigg would be the ideal fight. It's a huge domestic fight. You know, yourself and Carl Froch, you've seen the numbers that drew. I don't think we would get close to that, but we could do a small stadium somewhere. It would be a big ticket seller. I would like to fight Quigg, and then after that, the main man in the division is Rigondo, and if I want to prove him the best, he's the man I have to beat, and I'm happy to fight him.
Look, I know you want to get back and see your family, Carl. Just one last one. 8 stone 10 pounds. I know you've got to go, Barry, and Barry shouting at me too. Last question about how much longer do you feel you've got in the super bantamweight division?
I have a long time. I felt comfortable making the weight. It seems to get slightly easier with each camp. I think my body's just adapting to it. I think the weight done that guy a little bit. I heard stories about him struggling in saunas and stuff, but I am a comfortable super bantam. But after we go and get a couple of big fights here, I'm happy to move up the featherweight. Thanks
for your time, Carl. It's been a joy to be here tonight. Thank you. Congratulations. See you for the next one. So a superb performance by Carl Froch, and so measured before the fight, so measured after the fight. We shouldn't be surprised that he's so calm and composed and punch perfect when the bell rings.
Well, he certainly is, and he's with it. You know, he understands the side of boxing that the average guy on the street might not understand. There's reasons why some fights are a little bit more difficult to make, and right now you can't argue the things he's saying. He's saying he's a legitimate world champion and he's the draw. Certainly it's not something I would disagree with right now. He's putting in the performances, record attendances here in Ireland. You know, he's now boxing on terrestrial TV here in Ireland and in the UK. He's one hell of a draw, and he is, for me, the A side of that fight.
Okay, let's analyse the performance in more detail now. The good points across the 4 completed rounds and the finish.
Yeah, well, he came out, and it's always about what he's had to deal with, what the opponent brought to the table. So the opponent would have been a strong, rugged, tough guy who'll come forward, works well behind his double jab, looks to fire, you know, stiff right hands. At times we saw him switch to southpaw. He was punching on the break, you know, he certainly had the tricks of the trade. Cole shut him down in pretty much all them aspects within the first 3 rounds. By the 4th round was landing heavy shots of his own, and was able to land shots with the left hand, with the right hand, to dip outside the jab, dip outside the right hand, and fire off his own counters. By the 5th round, where he stopped him, he was now sitting on the shots even more so, was punching inside in the exchanges, so firing shots up through the middle, finding a stiff target for it. And
George is just being pestered by people at ringside. That's the price of fame in this boxing ring. It took us half an hour to get from the entrance to the arena to ringside this evening, but yeah, you were saying about his plus points and just continuing that conversation.
And then by the end, he was, you know, he was landing consistently heavy telling shots where at any moment it looked like the guy in front of him was going to go. And, you know, to Avalos' credit, strong guy, tough guy, certainly came here to win, just came off a bit too short.
And anything you could pick holes in, something you could work on for the future?
Yeah, well, you know, it's hard to pick faults in fighters, especially when they've had such a good win. You know, there's plenty of things that he'll look to improve on, and he's doing that in the gym anyway, because I feel he's improving fight on fight. He can punch. We know he can punch. He needs to get himself into the positions to land those big shots. Tonight he did that with someone else. If he's talking about fighting the likes of Rigondo, that's a totally different kettle of fish. The guy, you can't hit him with a bag of rice on some nights. So, you know, I couldn't fault Cole, to be honest. I thought he boxed exceptionally well. More of the same.
And a fight against Scott Quigg, he senses, he's the bigger draw, which I don't think Scott Quigg can argue about, but what would Quigg bring tonight that would cause Frampton more problems than Avalos managed to present?
Well, Quigg is certainly a level above Avalos. He can cut down the range. He would do it far greater than Avalos did tonight. He can fight inside far greater than he did. I don't think that Frampton would approach a fight with Quigg the same as he did tonight. So he would look to box Quigg at a longer range, mid-range, even though he'd be probably giving away a few inches in height, maybe a few inches in reach as well. Quigg is so good at getting in on top of the guy in front of him and finding the angles. You know, he's a typical Manchester fighter.
Do you sense that fight will happen? Do you think there's a momentum? You know about boxing politics, you mentioned it yourself when you were talking to Carl, but do you think the momentum can get that done with the rival television companies involved?
Well, you know, we hope so. I think the biggest sticking point will be that Carl Frampton will say, we need to have this fight in Belfast. This is what makes the most money on the gate. Quigg will say, no, I'm not coming to Belfast. You don't blame him. So, you know, if it's a fight that takes place on neutral ground, maybe, you know, an O2 Arena in London.
But George, you've been involved in these negotiations. At some stage, does the money count? And you say this is just too good a deal to turn down.
Well, you know, the fights count, the fights matter. You know, certainly what's leaked out in the press is never really what's going on behind closed doors. Carl Frampton's switched on character. He's got Barry McGuigan, who's certainly been involved in boxing long enough to know what's a good deal, what's a fair deal. Likewise, Quigg seems a pretty screwed on customer. Signed with Eddie Hearn at Matchroom. Eddie Hearn has had a lot of the boxing here in the UK run his own way for now, so it'll be difficult if he has to compromise in other ways, but if I'm anyone to prove it, at times he has to compromise. So I'm sure a compromise can be met. It's a super fight. You know, for guys at that weight class, to be drawing crowds that they are, it's a fight that must happen. Well,